Hello, hello, you talented stars and starlets. It's your stage mom here, Chantele Francis. And if this is your first time on my channel, well then welcome. Please subscribe. This channel is all about ways for artists, creatives, and performers to level up in their careers in the entertainment industry. And so today's Sunday, so it is Sunday school, and we are still working through The War of Art. So right now we're going to be working through just pages 14 to 17. So the first kind of concept that he talks about in regards to resistance, he being Stephen Pressfield, and he says, and it is so very true, that resistance never sleeps. He uses an example that Henry Fonda, I'm like, Henry Ford, that doesn't make any sense. Henry Fonda, at 75 years old, he was still throwing up before he went on stage to perform. So it's not that resistance will ever go away, but it's kind of that you learn how to exceed it, eventually go past it, to not allow resistance to stop you, find ways to cope with resistance. And I hope that we find some ways by the time we get to the end of this book. And I do have the next book after too, called Do Your Work, which we maybe want to take a look at after. But yes, resistance never sleeps. Did I write anything else about it? Yeah, so fear doesn't ever go away, but you always will, you'll eventually learn how to overcome it. And as I've said before, on the other side of fear is all your greatest desires. Every time fear comes up and stops you, on the other side is all the things that you want to do, your dreams manifest, everything that time that fear gets in the way, that resistance gets in the way. If you are able to break through, get to the other side, everything you've always wanted is there waiting for you. You just have to move through it. And that's the hard part. So the next thing that he talks about is resistance plays for keeps. Now with that, it says that resistance goal is to not disable, but to kill. Like, it has no mercy, resistance. It doesn't want you to have to do something. It wants you to not complete your task, not live out your dreams. And just remember that resistance isn't just choosing you specifically and that you are being called out by resistance because you don't deserve to get your dreams to come true. No, resistance is something that every person on the planet that has a conscience that has that's a sentient being is going to experience resistance. Anybody that can label something as a failure or doing well, if you can make that justification, then resistance is very easily able to interfere. If you do not have those capabilities of knowing that there may be a made up consequence, then resistance is not going to affect you. But if you know that you have to put in some work and that potentially you may fail at something, that's where resistance kind of jumps in and resistance gets you. It is ruthless. Resistance is coming. And so he also says that it's the epicenter of all of our greatest dreams. And so what I think is the best way for us to be able to look at resistance as when you see that happening, that means it's something that you have to do. It's something that your soul is calling you to do, because resistance doesn't play with petty stuff. It goes for the jugular, if we can use that phrase. Like, it is ruthless, as I said before. It is going to go for the biggest dream that you have. It's going to go for the stuff that matters. That's where resistance is going to kick in. It's not going to kick in for something that you don't care about. You don't have any resistance. You do it if you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. Like, there's not going to be, it just, you can make that choice. There's nothing preventing you from making that choice. But resistance only seems to find its way in to when there's something more profound on the horizon. He says resistance targets everything that is special, everything that is unique to you, everything that is, it takes a risk of your vulnerability to be able to express. That is where resistance come in. It's kind of like it's kind of like a cushion for your ego. You know, it's like resistance comes in, it's because like, hey, that's uncharted territory. I'm not going to let you go there. I'm not going to let you do that, because you might have experienced growing up or earlier on in your life, you know, sometimes when you step outside the box and you do something more or greater, maybe you've had 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 negative experiences. And so fear and resistance, that all comes up because it doesn't want you to necessarily relive those experiences. So resistance at one point was acting as your friend. At one point was coming in to support you because it didn't want you to hurt. It didn't want you to experience failure. It didn't want you to not feel good. And so it came as a protector for your heart, and protected for your vulnerability, and a protector for your soul. But we have to allow it to just subside. It's okay. We can handle it. We thank resistance for being the compass to all our great dreams. And anything that's very important to us and for our soul's evolution, resistance is going to come up to protect us from going there, just in case it doesn't go the way that we wanted to. But it will go the way that you wanted to, because you just have to put the effort in. But resistance is going to stop you from even trying. Anything else about that one? Yeah, it attacks our genius. Jesus, the mofo. So rude. We also got resistance is fueled by fear. I kind of mentioned this just a second ago, but it says specifically, resistance has no strength of its own. Every ounce of juice it possesses comes from us. We feed it with power by our fear of it. Master that fear, and we conquer resistance. And so actually tomorrow I'm going to go a little bit deeper into fear and see if we can find some tools to learn how to work with fear as your friend. Because fear is, as fear comes up, that's what stops us. There's a great acronym that I like, and it's for fear, saying false evidence appearing real. And I mentioned, you might have had negative experiences in the past that have, it's kind of like if you touch a hot stove, you don't want to touch the hot stove again. And resistance and fear, that's kind of what it is. It's like you're afraid of touching the hot stove, but it's kind of like you've grown up now. So if you're going to touch the hot stove, you have like fire protective gloves on or whatnot. Like you know what you're doing, you have the repercussions, but you just like, your resistance and fear comes up. It's like, no, it's a hot stove, don't touch it. And so learning how to master all the thoughts and experiences that you've had in your past so you can more easily manage and maneuver fear and resistance, then we are going to be working better. So we're going to master fear. This is going to be something that I really want to work on because those subconscious thoughts, those fears, they are what is stopping us, what's preventing us from level up, what's preventing us from taking chances, taking risks, from showing our unique heart, from being creatively open and genius. Like what we love about people that are in the creative arts is that they do take these risks, that they are able to step outside the box and share these magical moments through whatever medium is their passion. And fear there's many different types of fears that comes in and acts as resistance. So part of this channel is going to be mastering fear, learning how to work with fear as a partner as opposed to an enemy. That is something that I'm learning more and more is probably the most important lessons for our entertainment careers, for sure. And the last little lesson that I want to talk about is that resistance only opposes in one direction. And so what he means by that is that resistance doesn't, if you're going from, you're a CEO of a company and then you decide to go and work at a telemarketing office. That's kind of the example that he gives. like, you know, there's not going to really be any resistance because you know you're going to do the job well. You know it's going to be super easy, or you know, there's no stress necessarily, like different kind of stress. Like you could do that really easily without having any fear. Most likely. I mean, people can find resistance in anything for sure. You might have had a negative experience at a telemarketing company, so maybe the fear would come up, but just going from like a higher tier, we'll say, to a lower tier, not disrespecting anybody that's telemarketing, just giving a very, very vague example, is that it's going to be there's not going to be any resistance. But if you are going towards your higher calling, if you're going towards a career in the arts, if you're going to launch a new enterprise, like something going from where you are right now to something more profound, something that's more in line with your heart, more in line with your soul, more in line with your life purpose and your mission, that's where fear and resistance is going to step in. It's not going to step in if you're not stepping into the profound. It's not going to affect you if you're going the other way. So as a reminder, whenever fear and resistance pop up, take note that is what you have to work through, because on the other side of it is all your greatest dreams manifest. It's what you're supposed to do is on the other side of fear. So use it as a compass and use it as like, oh, what do I need to work through right now? What is this fear that's coming up? What do I need to tell myself? What do I need to learn? What do I need to teach myself to be able to allow this fear to go away and you know, thank it for its protection and still move towards without allowing fear to step in and resistance to step in to just clobber us down and keep us small. You know, resistance comes when you're trying to become big, when you're trying to become profound, when you're trying to become more amazing than you already are, when you're trying to express more, when you're trying to change the world. That's when resistance is going to step in. So know that resistance is common for every single person on this planet that is a conscious, sentient being that has ever experienced any failure in their life. This is where, or seen it, you know, even if you've seen or witnessed any sort of failures, any sort of resistance in other people, like you can take that on it for yourself. So if you can relate to other people's experience, you might even be able to adapt and take on their fears or their resistance. So we're going to work on it. We're going to work on it, but we're going to keep on pointing out where resistance turns up as we continue reading through this book. And yeah, we're going to break through these blocks and we are going to win our creative battles. That's what the little subtitle says over here. So that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure that you subscribe right down here. Hit the like button if you like this little video. Ring that bell so you can be notified daily when I upload my next vid. And as always, I will see you in the spotlight. Take care.